Okay, I've got Eric Lee today, and Eric is a voiceover artist. He sounds like every movie trailer you have ever heard in your life, and you're going to hear that in a minute. But he has done some incredible projects with big brands. We were just talking before we started recording that he's done some stuff for NASCAR, and he's done some educational work as well, e-learning videos, those kinds of things. And
Right.
if there has ever been a bigger transition, I don't know that there's been an industry that has seen a bigger digital transition than media. And Eric has been through that. And we're going to hear his story and some of the successes he's had as a result of making that transition and embracing the digital space. So, Eric, thanks for doing this, first of all.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. Thanks.
These are fun. I love having these chats, and this is a topic that's close to my own heart because as I said, I cut my teeth in broadcast many years ago.
Right. Me
Uh,
too.
yeah, terrific. So we could probably go on for a long time, but as we said before we started recording, Zoom isn't all that generous with their time. So we'll see how this goes.
Right. Right.
Um, so how did you start in broadcast? How did your career get started?
Well, as a kid, I was interested in the fascination really of how sound can by itself create limitless images that are all personalized in somebody's mind. I listened to some old time radio shows and where they had the actual sound effects being performed live. And, you know, well, the one I particularly listened to was more like a drama type thing with headphones on. It scared me. I'm thinking, I'm just in my living room with headphones on, and the sound is enough to, um, evoke an emotional response in me. So I listened to other things too that didn't scare me. That was important, but that sparked my interest in radio. And the more I went on and finished high school, went to college, and the radio bug bit me, if you will. Just in terms of being on air, went to a college in Pittsburgh and got a degree there, but never waved it under anybody's nose because I was on the performance end. So I could have had a doctorate, but if you talk like this, you're not going to get hired on the air, you know? So anyway, Um, so I did get hired by a station in Pittsburgh. That lasted all of 10 months. I was pretty young. I was about 22 at the time. And in fact, I wasn't even in the radio station's own demographics for age. So, so that was a little bit interesting, but that gave me some experience. I came back to where I grew up, actually, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and that's how we say it here. And
Right.
and got a job at a top 40 station that I did for 3 years or so, and did mornings. So that meant the joyous job of getting up at, like, I don't know, 3:30, 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Every weekday morning. So,
Been there, done
but
that.
it was fun. But yeah, I mean, at that point, reel to reels were the technology. And like I said, I still have my grease pencil and my splicing block, but nobody in their right mind would ever use them now. So, but the transition that I found interesting, from going from reel to reel tape recorders to digital, was there was nothing moving. With reel to reels, they'd go round and round and round.
Yeah.
Well, there was nothing moving. And I'm like, okay, is this thing doing anything at all? How do I know that it's recording in a way that I'm happy with?
Yeah.
Because, so that was an introductory baptism into digital technology. So that took a while for me to latch on to, okay, you really can grab a syllable out of somebody's one word and plunk it into another word that they mispronounced and clean it up. Couldn't do that with tape.
Yeah.
Not in the way you can with digital, but had some people saying, it's time for you to catch up here and get a computer. So I did, and that's now quite a while ago. I've gone through different systems, had to learn them all, and the one you see behind me there is called Reaper,
Hmm.
and I need that because of the variations of signal paths that I need within the mixer to have a client online directing a session, either for me as the voice talent, or if I have somebody else as the talent, if they want a female voice, let's say. But I can connect with people with talent anywhere in the world. One talent I have actually lives in Cape Town, South Africa. She's a British voice that sometimes clients want. So thankfully, there are online ways to do that. And the client didn't know. They didn't care either.
Amazing. We have come a long way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, tin cans and string, when technology works, it's great. But when it doesn't, it's very frustrating. So, but that's been a general pathway for me. Um, but I've been able to pick it up fairly well, and you just have to be willing to learn
Yeah.
and learn the details. They all kind of work the same, but you have to find the finer points in terms of, okay, I knew how to do that in this program. How do I do it in this new one? That finding those workarounds and keyboard shortcuts and all that kind of thing, it takes time just to learn it and watch YouTube
Right.
a
Yeah.
lot.
YouTube is a tremendous resource this day and age.
Yeah.
And boy, if we had that 30 years ago, it would be it would have been a game changer. I
Oh, yeah.
remember some of the early software I remember. We had one that was called Prompter, and everything involved function keys on the keyboard, and you really had to memorize which key combination performed which function. Do you remember what
Yes.
you first used?
I used, it was called Microsound, and I, it was PC based. And at the time, it didn't matter to me if it was PC or Mac. I just wanted something that worked.
Yeah.
So um, it was called Microsound, and um, again, it took a while. Thankfully, the guy who said it's time for you to get a computer was also thankfully willing to teach me how to do the basic functions with it initially, and I learned from there. But having somebody alongside is really helpful and
No kidding.
critical.
Yeah. Do you remember feeling nervous getting into the digital stuff?
Oh yeah, I like I said, nothing was moving, and I didn't know if it was recording or not. Sometimes I remember one session with a client that I had on. They were on the phone from England or Ireland, I guess it was. Anyway, a long session, and I just because of the way things were routed within my tangible mixer, which I don't have anymore either. Um, the somehow the phone line got recorded along with my voice, which was they didn't want that, obviously, you
Right.
know. So I had to go back and do a fair amount of it. That's called egg on your face, you
Right,
know.
right. Yeah. Yeah, I think, part of learning is making some of those mistakes and having some of those experiences. Do you remember anything that was really wild, like really substantial in terms of an error that you ultimately learned from, for sure, but something that was really big you wish you could go back and do over?
Yeah, sometimes depending on which editing program I would use, it would glitch and not capture or not hold on to the audio file data correctly, and it would come out squirrely. And if it wasn't my voice, I had to redo some things, and that wasn't my fault, but I still had to overcome it. So sometimes it meant I had to call the talent back. I had to call the client back because they wanted to oversee all the voiceover. And yeah, it's just wildly embarrassing. One time when I first was doing that, they wanted to do a Zoom call like this, the client in Ireland, and I didn't have a laptop at the time, didn't have anything plugged into the system. So I borrowed my son's laptop and didn't think that the battery would have any trouble lasting the whole time.
Ah.
But it died right in the middle of the conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I just lost them.
Yeah.
And this was technical language in the script that I was narrating. So I had to have their direction. And it's just, again, one of those egg on your face moments, but that taught me, okay, preparation is the key. And now, having done this for decades, I get a really good sense as to what's needed beforehand. If you prepare, and things still happen. I mean, it just happened. Like the internet provider that I have, who shall go nameless, uh, they had a major outage, and I mean, it was like all across the East Coast, even out west in the
Yeah.
United States, and I didn't know, but everything just disappeared all of a sudden. And so I didn't have the client's phone number. They didn't have mine. And everybody understood, thankfully, that okay, once we were all able to reconnect, but it took rescheduling the session, it took all kinds of things, but there was nothing that anyone could do.
Yeah.
I recommended tin cans and string, but they didn't seem to pick up on that idea.
Yeah. Well, the that tech may not have performed quite as well, right?
Right. Yeah. And
Uh,
anybody with a pair of scissors could interrupt that call. So,
Indeed. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and there are these things that happen that are beyond our control.
right.
So we can prepare, but inevitably there are going to be these occasional hiccups, and I think we just have to expect that and be prepared to move on and
Yeah.
do what you need to do to get to the next step. But what do you do to prepare now these days with the current tech that we have?
Well, I make sure that I know what format they're going to want. What if it's a Zoom call, a Teams call, something else that they want to do, call in on the phone. Um, I make sure that if there's another talent involved, I make sure I'm connected with them um, at least 5 minutes ahead of time to get levels set and make sure the connection's good, things like that. And sometimes they're on and sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
5 minutes ahead. I just know I run by the premise of if a meeting starts at 10, I'm late if I'm there at five of,
Yeah.
just so that there can be a little bit of margin, if you will. But making sure I've got the right script or the right version of the script because they go through a few changes over time, and the more people get their hands on it, the more they're saying, no, I have to have my input in there somewhere.
I would
So,
imagine that's quite the process.
oh yeah, absolutely. And I just say to the client, just don't send me any other versions. Just send me the final one. You know,
Yeah.
I'll be fine.
Yeah.
So, The preparation is, well, if I'm the talent, especially to be ready vocally, that takes some warm ups. That takes doing some funny things that, people don't know need to happen. Tongue twisters, all kinds of things, and making sure I drink plenty of water.
Yeah.
So hydration is the biggest thing. But technically, thankfully, I've got people that know how to put all of that together because Patch Bays and me, they don't know each other really well.
Ah, well, you're at the point in your career now where you can have the help to get things done,
Oh yeah,
completed.
absolutely. I've learned. I've always said I'm definitely knobs and faders, not wire and solder.
Yeah, right. That's a good analogy, I
So
think.
yeah, having people that are technically minded and computer savvy. I mean, the guys that I have that do that for me, they should work for the CIA. They can figure out solutions to problems. I have no idea how they do it. So,
Even that in itself, I think, is a good message for people because you can be easily overwhelmed by the amount of tech that's out there.
oh yeah,
And the reality is that we do not need all of it. There are very simple things that can get us by or get us started with different projects that we might like to do. Our smartphones, everybody's packing a camera in their pocket these days, and that's plenty to get started with something like a YouTube channel or
right.
anything that you might want to do in the online space. And
Yeah, the camera quality is amazing on a phone. And
yeah, yeah, this day and age, it's shocking how good the quality has become. And
right,
I know photographers that will argue with me a little bit, and I get that there are some additional pieces that you'd like to have a little more control over with your professional cameras. Uh,
right.
but for somebody just starting out to pull out your smartphone and press record, it's
Yep.
just amazing.
Well, and that's that tied in with that is people are accepting of that. It
Yeah,
used to be that, oh no, if you were going to record with a $50 microphone, we don't even want to talk to you
yeah,
as far as a talent resource or a recording studio. Um, and now, because of the advancing technology and the crazy amount of quality that they've put into low cost microphones, and even some that are lower cost than what they are designed to emulate, like a Neumann U87.
yeah.
That's
Which is
that's
like a
like a
standard in industry, right?
oh yeah, absolutely. It's I think they're like $3,500 easy, and
Yeah,
that's without hubcaps and heater. You
right.
know, so but now there are, I won't say knockoffs, but microphones that are under $1,000 that emulate a U87,
Yeah,
and even selectable microphones that you can get for to emulate all kinds of different mics that people are used to. So it's pretty crazy.
yeah,
And what that's allowed in my business as a voice talent, that's allowed a lot of people who are, I'll say, not actually voice talents, but they have enough money to buy a microphone and a laptop, and they'll call themselves a voice talent and do things for pocket change.
right.
Well, that just kills off a lot of work that real professional voice talents have been doing. And the clients think, oh, I can get it done for $5. So, but they don't get the quality that they're looking for if they care about that. So, yeah, the technology is changing really fast, not just in audio, as you said earlier, the whole media playing field is just transforming like crazy. It's hard to even keep up with it.
Yeah.
Um, that's why talking to other people is valuable because they know of programs that you don't.
I think you're right. Actually, I want to go back for a sec there. There are pros and cons to how technology is evolving. And of course, the other big thing that's come our way is AI. Uh,
Right,
and so, yes, we have much more access now. Anybody can jump in and call themselves a voiceover artist. Uh,
right,
we have online platforms like 11 Labs is one I'm familiar with that generates an AI voice, although I don't think it's quite there yet. Um,
right.
but we've seen advancement happening really, really quickly. What's your take on that and how that is evolving and how AI in particular is perhaps disrupting things?
Oh, well, it's definitely disrupting things. Um,
Yeah.
I I know it's come a very long way, even just in a few months' time. It seems to be progressing exponentially. But I've also heard that clients realize even training things for their own people. If they're asking their employees to sit through a 15-minute training and it's similar cadence, similar inflection that AI generates, people are like, well, I guess you just had a robot do this and you don't really care about me enough to have somebody talk to me rather than talk at me. And there's a huge difference.
Yeah.
So some clients are willing to say, you know what, the image of our company and how people perceive us needs to be of the highest quality, the highest level. And the AI voices, good as they might be, and I know they'll continue to get better, but there's still AI will never have a soul.
Hmm.
That's the phrase I've come up with is you can't have a robot or a program put in some mild confidence that you can't type that in and it knows what to do. Tell me what you want as mild confidence. I know exactly what to do.
Right. Right. Uh, talk to me, don't talk at me. And AI does not have a soul. To me, these relate to authenticity.
Yep, absolutely.
Do you think there might be more demand for authenticity as AI continues to grow?
That's a good question. I certainly hope so. I think some people are fine with AI. I mean, one of my sons works in the SEO world of internet marketing, and he's all about Chat GPT and all that, and that's fine for analyzing data, I think. But once you start getting into the creative realm, and you really do diminish someone's how they're created to be imaginative and fun. Just look at little kids. They can play for hours talking to themselves, driving cars around on the floor, all that kind of stuff. And, if they're creative by nature. I think we are different levels in different ways, certainly, but as long as the human element is there and continues to be, I think people are going to say, you know what, it's worth it. It's worth it to have the human element. Otherwise, you take away people's integrity, you take away employment. Um, there are a lot of downsides that I don't know that we've seen the outworking of fully yet.
Yeah.
So as a human, I I'm going yay yay people. We're made that way, and that's what I like to do. I have fun doing character voices as well as doing medical narration and NASCAR promos and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So
What's the most fun
That's
project you've done?
well, I would say there was it was actually an educational thing, a training piece that uh, mimicked the Apprentice when that was big on United States television, when Donald Trump was not a politician.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I had that project involved, I think it was 11 or 13 different voice talents. I was one of them, but I played the Russian limousine driver. I
Interesting.
had like two lines, but it was fun, you know. You want me to pick you up? When? Okay, no problem.
That's terrific.
Um, so it was that, but I did all the sound work, the soundtrack design for it, all the sound effects layering, directed the sessions with there were several people, men and women sales teams that they needed to be directed, and everybody got along. It was great. I that's one of the projects that I've had a ton of fun doing. And for me, once again, it's back to that theater of the mind. That's often the phrase that's used that you're familiar with, having been in radio yourself. You know, you can create that stuff with the helicopter flyovers and all that. Well, I didn't have to have a helicopter land in my backyard to get that sound effect. You know, it's
Right.
available otherwise. So, but it just was a lot of fun.
Yeah. That creativity element, that's irreplaceable. And
Right.
yeah, and especially in the old days when we had to come up with sound effects in creative ways, now you just go
Yes.
download it somewhere, right?
Right. Yep. Somebody else has gone out and, you know, splashed in a puddle or something, you know, that you're not going to do too easily in a studio. But
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
Hey, what would you advise somebody today who needs to learn the current technology, and maybe is a little bit, I don't know, a little bit concerned, a little bit nervous about jumping in and learning the tech, and also thinking about maybe getting into your industry, understanding the tech that's involved in that, and not just being somebody that throws up a website and offers their services for $5, right? As you were
right,
talking about earlier. How do you
right.
do it right?
Well, I'd say, depending on what aspect of this industry, of the industry I'm in, uh, let's just talk about voice talent. You have to get training. That yeah, I've had people tell me, "Oh, you have such a nice voice." Well, that's fine, but I equate it to somebody handing me a hammer and saying, "Okay, go build a house." You would not want me to build your house. I can tell you that much, unless you want it done in Legos. I'm you would not want me doing it. I am not handy at all. So, but if somebody trained me, I could at least get better. So, as a voice talent, if you have a nice voice, that's good. You have to learn how to use it and infuse emotion into it. And the key to it really is being believable. That is the end goal for anything. NASCAR promos, medical narration, commercial reads, because these days, you know, there's so much, and that's where AI would fall short, I think, is being convincing,
Mm.
having that element there. But the tech, there are free editing programs, lots of YouTube and tutorial videos that you can find and watch. It's like going to school, really. And I don't know how the people that spend all the time that they do making those tutorials, maybe they're sponsored. I don't know, but it takes a lot because there a lot of them are really nicely edited for video too,
Yes.
uh, with graphics and, you know, changing shots and doing all that. I'm like, that takes a while.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
So,
you wouldn't know because we make it look easy sometimes, right?
right. And the expectation is that it's supposed to be nice looking.
Yeah.
You know, it's supposed to be eye-catching and keep your attention. So those would be the basics I would recommend. Having a good enough microphone to get started, but the training, and I do voice coaching as well. So taking people who have said, "Hey, I'd like to learn about this because I can do it online." I prefer it in person, but just like we're doing, we're a few miles apart from each other,
Indeed.
so it works for a lot of things. But yeah, I've coached a lot of people, directed by now thousands of recording sessions, so I have a good idea of what sounds good and what the client wants.
So we can find that on your website, right? And you've got a demo reel on your website as well, by the way, which is terrific. Can we still call it a demo reel? I don't, I don't know. But lots of samples there of your work, which is just
Yeah,
excellent. Remind us what your
thanks.
website, or let us know what your website is, and I'll make sure it's in the description below when we post this video on YouTube.
Yeah, I try to keep it very simple. It's ericleeproductions.com. So find demos there. You'll find the talent pool there, the writing samples, because I'm also a writer and a video producer, director, um, sound designer. I haven't gotten a client coffee yet, but that's probably coming next. You know,
Got to
we
add that
try
to
to,
your resume. Yeah,
yeah, well, we try to be full service here at Eric Lee Productions, you know.
excellent.
So,
Eric, this has been fun. I always love talking to people who have similar backgrounds because we have things in common to carry
yep,
on the conversation with. So
me too. Me too.
I really appreciate this. We will, again, we'll make sure that your details are in the description below. And maybe we'll do this again. Who knows?
I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for this opportunity. It's been fun too to talk to another radio guy.
All right, Eric, all the best.
You too.